Alright, so as you probably know already by the time that the interview is going to be posted, Movistar Riders have announced their new roster, and Kasing is obviously the new support. And I'm really, really happy to be able to interview Raymond once again, because last time we spoke, it was during the opening week of the LEC, and my camera had a malfunction that corrupted the file, and I couldn't, unfortunately, upload the interview, which was my favorite interview for the weekend. So this time I have double checked, triple checked, and quadra checked even to ensure that everything is correct, and that we are going to have in the channel the contagious laughter, to say the least, of Raymond. So if everything, if something goes badly, I'm going to close the channel probably or something. But anyway, thank you very much for being here, Raymond, and for Movistar Riders for facilitating the interview. How are you overall? Because it's been a long time, man.
I mean, obviously, last time I had an interview was obviously last.
It was in
I don't
spring
even know.
2019, I think, in the first
Yeah,
week of the LEC.
yeah, that was a long while ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, now, like, from since then, obviously a lot has changed. I think I've become a different person ever since then, I would say. I think, obviously in a good way, I would say, because I feel like I've just developed a lot more as an individual. And obviously now that I'm playing in Movistar Riders, obviously it's not something that I would not expect myself to be where I am now. But of course, I think I'm actually really excited to play in Spain, because for me, it's like one of the places I've always wanted to like kind of see and like just play in or just visit in. Like I'm kind of like, I want to travel a bit, right? And I thought Spain was something that was really interesting for me, and not to mention like Movistar as well. As an organization, I've obviously asked around like from before in my off season about what kind of organizations are good and like where I want to be. And I've heard nothing but good things about Movistar. So I'm actually really, really happy that I'm in Movistar now. So
Glad to hear. And you mentioned traveling. Of course, during this year it's been really hard to travel because of the pandemic. It's been a really rough year
yeah.
overall. I don't really know how much it affected the UK or the UK National League. So how has 2020 treated you so far? Because you said that you have developed a lot, and I think that this year has been a year of introspection overall, of self-reflection, being quarantine and everything. So how has the year treated you so far?
I mean, the thing is, right, a lot of people would generally say like results is what matters the most, of course, and like, oh, if if you haven't won anything like in terms of like the finals or like EU Masters or anything like that, then it's like a failure. But for me, it's more about like how much did you actually improve individually rather than like what result you got. Because in my opinion, right, I mean, results is always good. In my opinion, results is more like the bonus, but what actually matters is kind of how you've developed in terms of as a player, as a teammate, as a friend, as a person in general. And I think this is what counts more. And obviously, it's not that I'm deluded by the fact that just because I didn't win, therefore I'm just looking at only the positives. But I think I'm very realistic in terms of like what I've achieved this year. And don't get me wrong, I feel like every year there's always like good and bads, right? Like everyone always has a good and bad year. I think probably 2020 was probably my worst year. But when I say worst year, I mean like it's a year that I feel like I've been the most self-reflective over the course of my entire career. So yeah, I mean, I think at the moment a lot of people have probably asked me, oh, you're 27 now, you're a veteran in esports, when are you gonna retire and all this kind of stuff. But for me, it's more about like mindset and motivation. I don't believe that an age should cap you on how long you should play. I think generally, if you have the mindset to play, if you still have the fire to keep going, keep going. I don't think this is something that should be even like, how do I say it? It shouldn't even be a valid point that, oh, just because you're older, therefore you shouldn't be allowed to play because there are 18-year-olds or 70-year-olds that are just better than you. But I don't think that's true at all. There are some good players right now, even that I would say, I would consider like our talents. But I think having a veteran or just veterans in general is still important for a team, in my opinion, to develop. I don't think that you can just just put in like any rookie that you see and expect him to be like the next Caps. You know what I mean? And this is kind of like the current illustration that a lot of people are looking at right now in terms of rookies. But yeah, I mean, it's nice that they're giving rookies a chance, right?
Yeah.
Compared to before anyway. I just think it's kind of overrated in a way.
Yeah, it's actually been interesting to me because yesterday I just interviewed Java, which is someone that was in Movistar Riders, funnily enough, and we talk about this as well because he's 24 and he's also like feeling this rookie narrative as being a bit overrated. And of course, I also watched recently a thorough interview with Mithi, and he said that compared to the old times, and you said that you're 27, most people know you, I think, from the days of H2K, going to Worlds, being third twice, with the Kasing effect narrative and everything, Splice, Vitality, and everything. And he said, Mythia, I mean that he sees that people that come new to the scene, rookies and everything, maybe they don't have this romantic perception of esports because when you started, you were playing for a keyboard, a mouse, and not much, and now people have this huge salary, so like they don't try hard that much, they take things for granted, and maybe some of them don't have this hunger to win. But you're saying that you're still motivated and everything. So, what's your take on Mythi's opinion? Do you see, have you noticed this difference between the old years and the modern times in League of Legends?
I mean, it's funny you say that because I actually think Mythi's opinion is, it's not that I think it's similar to what I think, but it's more like, for me, I feel like there's been so many veterans in the scene that, in my opinion, haven't always been the best example or role model. Because there are some veterans that, in my opinion, don't play enough solo queue, or like just generally give like a very lax vibe. Like they don't actually play and improve to the point where they actually are, trying to compete. If you get what I mean. Like for me, I think most of the veterans that I've played in the past might have been like, how do I say it, complacent. And I think, even for me myself, I think I've been a victim to this. Like at the beginning, when I was in H2K, for example, I was like really trying and sweating for my life, both solo queue and scrims and like just official matches and everything, right? I was really, really trying my best because I had a goal, and that was to get to Worlds, and then I made it in 1 year. But after that, like, when money comes and it's just everything else kind of becomes, how do I say it? And this is speaking from myself, right? I think I valued money a bit more compared to like competitive success. And obviously, because of these other factors, like, how do I say it, not actually going for the best roster that you could ever think of, but rather like a decent, okay roster plus like really good money. That's kind of what happens generally to esports players that have, got some kind of recognition. And that's why it's like, when you see when Perks went to C9, right, for around 2.7 million, I presume is the estimated, that's kind of crazy. Because if you think about like in the past, getting like 5k a month was like, oh my god, I've hit the jackpot, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like I remember those days where I literally didn't play for a salary, and nowadays people like, it's kind of like a given that you have to have a salary in order for like, for you to play for a team, whatever. So I mean, to summarize, right, my point is more like, Miffy thinks that rookies obviously like they don't know the backstory of esports, basically, right? But for me, it's more like, I think there's been so many people that were veterans in the past that, because back then you didn't play for money, and now that you're actually getting a decent sum, I don't think they don't take it as, what's it called, as do or die anymore. And it's kind of like, I think it's kind of bad for the veterans that are still trying, in my opinion, because I don't believe that the whole persona that veterans just steal paychecks and this kind of blah blah blah. Like I don't think I've ever been a player like this, apart from like maybe once in my life. But regardless of that, it's more like, I think it really depends on the motivation of the player during that moment. If the player you can clearly see is trying solo queue, he's trying for his life in like scrims and everything, then I can see a player like that just performing as well or better than a new player, that you can get for like maybe, I don't know, a few €1,000 a month. I don't know. I think right now everyone just really focuses a lot on the budget because of Corona and stuff, and like everything is not really, money that just doesn't grow from trees. Like everyone is very like, what's it called? Everyone does look at the budget and see what's realistic for them. So there's a lot of problems there. So
and of course it's just as valid as trying to win walls and everything. Maybe you think that your career is going to last 2 years and you want to take as much money as you can. It's perfectly legit, and it's on teams to decide if they want to pay that much or not. It's not on the players, of course. But you also said that this year you have developed a lot. You have grown a lot as a player, and I wanted to speak with you as well about some of the teammates you had in Excel, because some of them are really known for the Spanish community, like Sendo, Special, Hatrix, Deadly, and everything.
Yep.
And starting from your lane partners, you share a team with Hjarnan once again, and then with Deadly. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they have very different styles. Like Hjarnan is more self-sufficient. He plays weird picks like Heimerdinger. He's more like an utility player, I'd say. And Deadly, I remember him from Giants, like drawing a lot of resources from himself. You've played both styles in the past with Kobbe, also in Splice, playing around him a lot. So which one do you think that suits you better, and which one do you prefer overall?
I mean, the difference is more like with Hjarnan, he's also, he's a veteran like me. We've kind of like developed in the same time frame, I would say. I think with Hjarnan it's just more like he's much more open-minded in terms of like what we get from the map, or looking at the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that, it's like he doesn't care so much about the lane in terms of like what we get, like if we can win lane as hard as we can, because in the end, right, it's all about how you do as a team, and he cares more about that. And I mean, that is a really good trait to have, as an AD carry, because it's like, if you're an AD and you don't get or you feel like you don't get resources every game, you feel like you're just absolutely useless. And some AD carries just can't play like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Hjarnan knows a lot about like what he needs, what he wants. And the thing is, I have played a style where I'm basically strong side with Hjarnan, for example, right? And I have gotten resources with him back in HDK for some, and I think it worked well. It's just more about understanding what your team needs. It's not necessarily about like what you are as a bot lane, or how good you are, how bad you are as a bot lane. It's more like whatever your team needs in terms of like if they need like a scaling bot, or if they need a strong bot or power bot or whatever. And I think this has kind of been the case for all my past teams that I have played with, in Excel, in Splice, in HDK. It's like whatever's necessary at the time. Obviously, like every single team has its own what's it called?
Strengths and weaknesses.
It's its own, not even just strengths and weaknesses, but it's more like its own
identity,
its own meta.
Hmm.
Like some teams obviously prefer like tank tops, whatever, every time, right? So if let's say you draft like a tank top or tank top side, then your bot probably shouldn't go for like another tank. For me anyway, I obviously can play like range supports, but obviously they're not exactly like that. What's it called? That popular in the LEC, or I mean, I know in SOK they played it a bit as well, but it's more like if you're not confident as a player to play like certain styles, they just default the tank because it's like easiest. It's the easiest way to play for the win, and also give like, or have like the least amount of mistakes or even if you make a mistake, it's okay. Whereas with a range support, it's more, how do I say it, more punishing, but the reward is much more, how do I say it, it's much nicer to play.
Yeah.
For me anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? All these past bot lanes that you've mentioned, it's like all of them have their strengths and weaknesses for sure. Like for example with Kobbe, I always knew that this guy was really reliable. Like that's the one word I can for sure say is like consistent and reliable. Every game he would always deliver. If I played something like Zillion or Janna or Lulu or whatever, right? I knew this guy would always like know what I want from him. And this is why I loved playing like Zillion with Kobbe, because it's like when you have an AD carry that knows both limits of what you can and can't do with like Zillion, for example, this is like a perfect dream for me, because I don't have to be like, yo, can you step up, or can you do this, blah blah blah. But yeah, I think it really depends on what kind of team you have. If you have a team that wants to play around bot, sure, I can do that,
Mm-hmm.
And I personally, it's more like I used to hate being weak side, as in I used to love having resources, and I can say this like quite clearly or confidently that before, I wasn't good at playing like weak side, I would say, because I was just kind of impatient is the better word. But obviously, as years went on, I started to love the tanks more and more, like Braum, like Nautilus, like these champs I used to hate. And then, yeah, one day it just kind of clicked. I started to be able to develop myself and, started to be very more self-critical about how I play the lane, what my role is, and all this kind of stuff. And then now I think, I'm a much better player than I was like 5 years ago, for example.
Yeah,
So.
I was checking your stats, and of course I remember your threes. Actually, Braum is your second most played overall, so you definitely grown with the character. And obviously your Rakan, I remember your Rakan from the early days when he was released. And I wanted to ask you, how do you see the current role of support after the preseason? Because I haven't been following the trend that much, and I've seen a lot of complaints about the items and they cost too much, and Imperial Mandate has been all over the place. So are you actually happy with what Riot Games has done with the role during the preseason, or what would you do to improve it?
Actually, I think support role is in a pretty good state right now. I feel like you have enough impact to do something on the map, as well as making something happen on bot lane. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think bot lane is not like super strong compared to the other roles currently that we have called jungler and mid. I think jungle and mid right now, these roles are probably the most impactful just because I feel like they have the most presence on the map. Yeah. And I mean, supports have gotten better for sure over the years, right? And I think now we actually have a we have a really what's it called? We have a stronger one item spike just because of the fact that we get like more gold in general right now. And when I say right now, I mean just for like early mid game when you get your 1k bounty of your trinket item, whereas before it was only up to 500, right? But the difference was more like as a support you don't really scale after like 2 items, or how do I say it? In a real game, you should already be happy having 1 item because you don't usually get up to 2 items unless the enemies make mistakes, right? Or unless like, how do I say it? You just get funneled gold somewhere. So I think supports have a much more have a bigger impact in the early game, maybe like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But then after that, I think you kind of get outscaled because before you used to have like these gold regeneration items, right? That allowed you to keep getting gold like throughout the game. So you can still scale at 15, 20 minutes, 25, whatever. But now it's kind of like, if you're behind as a support, it's quite sad. Yeah. But yeah, just have to be more creative, I would say, and try to be more proactive on the map in order to, to actually make a difference compared to the enemy.
And I think that actually fits the identity that at least I'm seeing from looking at the roster. And of course, we've talked about the bot lane a bit, and you are going to share lane with Rayito, who is going to replace Hub after his best individual year. And I'd say that he's probably the best Spanish AD carry alongside Supa and maybe Flacket. But the AD carry position is not that strong in Spain, I'd say. And I love Michael, I love Rayito, but probably people don't see him as one of the best AD carries in the league. So so far, or at least from what I know, I think that you've played a role in picking him as your lane partner. So would you please share some of the reasoning behind the choice, or what did you see in Rayito that made you think that he was going to fit properly within the team?
Well, first of all, we did like tryouts with multiple Spanish AD carries, and I felt like, or not even just me, like as a collective, as a team, obviously we don't just make like, just because Kasing thinks he's the best, therefore he's the only choice for whatever, right? I'm a very objective guy. I like to get the opinions of everyone else as well as my own thinking and kind of making my own decision there. But it was more like, as a collective, we all came to the same conclusion about the AD carry role. I think Rayito is someone that I think a lot of people might not have the best opinion of because of his past, and it's very understanding in my opinion. Like, or how do I say it? It's very justified, I would say. Just like, he had a bad last split or whatever, but for me, it's not really about like your past. It's about right now. I think if you're a type of player that has a really good work ethic, like even if you aren't the greatest player, in my opinion, well, I think I can help him to become like a top 3 AD carry. I think I have like the tools or the knowledge to help back him up and enable him as a player. Of course, maybe at the beginning it might be hard, but in the end, I don't think it should be such a such a hard task to be able to improve as a team as well. I think Rayito is someone that has a really good work ethic and mindset, and obviously a lot of people or public opinion don't see that, right? Because they haven't worked with him as an actual player. So that's why I chose Rayito, or that's why I think Rayito is probably the best option. Yeah, I mean, we will see, right? I'm like I said, I'm just excited to play in Spain first of all, and I can't wait to play with the team and see how play with the team. I can't wait to be with the team together as as a roster. But like, yeah, I think Rayito is someone that I think has really high potential to become a really good player.
And I was going to ask you later on about the organization because I think that you've had better offers money-wise, but you chose Movistar Riders, but you already said that it was because all the good things that you heard about the organization. So I want to ask you about the coaching stuff because, of course, Jarge is a fellow countryman of yours. And actually, you said a brief time in Team Solo Mid, but I don't think that you had much time to form an opinion about any of you. And I don't know how much Taylor is going to be involved in the day-to-day basis, but are you excited to be working with Jarge because he's regarded as one of the best coaches in the Spanish league as well and has had a lot of international experience?
I mean, the thing is, yeah, I did work with Jarge briefly in TSM, but I also worked with him in Excel as well. So it's like,
oh, really?
I worked with him in Excel the first year. So it's like I already knew what my coaching stuff would be in terms of like, you know, or I have like a familiar face that I know does his job well, like, and I mean really well. And I have a lot of faith in Jarge for sure. You know, if you're watching this, Jarge, I have trust in you. But regardless of that, it's like obviously I don't know anyone else apart from Jarge in terms of like the coaching stuff. I know of like Daylor and sports psychologist Sense, and I've never really like, you know, worked that closely with a sports psychologist, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that goes. I think it should only be good things, if anything. If not, I mean, I don't know what to expect, right? So it's kind of like I will see how it goes. But yeah, I have really good faith in Jarge as a coach in order to develop us as a team. And yeah, I mean, I had other offers. I was quite surprised at my offers. I thought I wouldn't get much at all actually, because I was just like, you know what, people are gonna be like, yeah, this guy's old, this guy's washed up, this guy's just just McDonald's. But like, no, I chose Movistar Riders because I genuinely do believe in the roster actually. I felt like someone like Maxlore is someone I wanted to play with for a while actually. I think he's always been someone that in my opinion has always been a good player, but I just felt like he got really unlucky in terms of like what has happened in his journey so far. Like I feel like he's very similar to me in terms of like he makes it to Worlds once, and then after that it's just like, okay, this guy's washed up. You know, it's just public perception. You make Worlds once, you're just never to be seen in LEC ever again. But I think mine and his goal is probably like to make it back into LEC at one point, because I think, you know, I think we are still working really hard to get there, to actually try and make a difference to the fact that, you know, we're trying to make a difference to the people's opinions of us as a player. Because it's always like, or for me anyway, I think my track record in LEC has always been quite good. I think I've always kind of made playoffs, apart from like 1 or 2 splits. But I've been in LEC for like a while now, and I think the only like worst year I've ever had was with Excel, and ever since then it's kind of like, oh, this player has always been washed up and that's this kind of thing, you know. And I really don't understand how the public get this kind of like perception in the course of one bad split, or even like, I don't know. I just find it kind of weird how everyone can just change their mind from day and night, one day another. And yeah,
yeah, we have really short-term memories in esports, especially the audience. It's like you win your first game in the LEC and you are a god, and it doesn't matter what you do later on. You have that narrative, and it's going to carry you throughout the way, and that changes rapidly. But of course, I wanted to ask you about Maxlore, because this is actually an UK-based roster with Jarge, with you, and with Nubar. I'm going to interview him tomorrow as well. And I think it's one of the most interesting cases recently, because I think that he went from probably being one of the best junglers in Europe to basically disappearing after the Misfits Super Roster failure. He's been in the NLC as well. I think he was in the other group, so I don't know if you've met him that much, but
I didn't play against him.
What's your opinion about him? I guess you have already played some games, or at least watched him. Do you think that he's in shape to be one of the best junglers in the league?
I mean, a lot of people would probably say that he he is not the same Maxlore as he was in his prime back in Misfits. But I actually have a more different opinion about him. I think he's definitely someone that is really smart about the game in terms of like game knowledge and understanding of what actually needs to be done from his role. And I think this is one of the most important things that I wanted from a jungler. I wanted someone who just knows his role in and out, his matchups, his understanding of what he needs to be, what he needs to do. and he's someone that I feel like I can really, really understand jungle support to a deeper level, just because we are both from the UK, but it's more like he's someone that I can discuss without having any like regrets, if you get what I mean. Like I can basically freely criticize or say literally anything I want in order for him to become better, in my opinion. And obviously he can do the same with me, and I feel like this is a really nice what's it called, a really nice foundation to build upon. And yeah, he's just someone I thought he's always been a good jungler, but he's just had some unlucky years. Maybe mechanically he could be better, because there's been a lot of
sometimes, yeah.
There are some points where he was just like, oh god, what is going on in solo queue, for example, right? But yeah, no, he's definitely someone that I'm really probably the most excited to play with.
Yeah, definitely. You're like the two big names in the roster, I guess. And keeping with the UK, of course, you've just left the UK national scene, and I guess that you want it to grow because it's where you come from. So what do you think that they are lacking in order to become like a tier 1 regional league? Because they've always been like behind Spain, Germany, France, and many others.
Honestly, I feel like the UK is just behind in terms of like understanding how to have like a developmental structure. And when I say that, I mean like in the UK, I don't think the rosters keep the same roster after a year. You know what I mean? Like it's like everyone's just always looking for the new fucking sorry.
It's fine. It's your classic F1. I've already discussed it with Reset, and he's fine about it, so don't worry.
Okay, sorry. Everyone is trying to find the next UK faker, but sometimes you can find the UK, I don't know, caps. You don't need faker. You can just get caps. That's fine too. Second place. No, I'm kidding. But what I'm talking about is more like everyone's always looking for a new player every time. But maybe that's just due to like UK players not even existing. Like I think out of all the players that's like in Grandmaster and Grandmaster Challenger that are from the UK, I think it's very, very small compared to like the other countries, for example. Yeah. Like I think compared to like France, Germany, Spain, like they have way more players of like pros, just in general. And I think that's like the biggest problem in the UK. Like everyone's always more inclined to import like other country AD carries or whatever, right? But where are the UK players? That's the question. And the thing is, right, I can probably answer this because I was in a similar position. I didn't have to play League of Legends, I could have just taken the easy route and followed the guidelines of life, where you go to college, you go to university, and then you find a job or whatever, right? But yeah, I think it's more like in the UK. I mean, I think now it's definitely getting more and more accepted as an esport or as a like an actual job. Because before, I can definitely guarantee and tell you that I was not playing for money when I was when I was at the beginning of my career in esports. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's getting better, but it's not good enough to the point where it's like Spain or France or Germany's kind of level in National League. And I think this is literally to do with development. Like the teams they're not looking to develop players. They're just looking to get a player in, see how he is for one split, and then buy. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think some players need to develop.
It reminds me of the Spanish scene like 5 years ago when you had roster changes every single week, basically, and
yeah, exactly.
There are no continuity, long-term projects in the UK, as you're saying, and maybe it's also because of the culture around games in the UK. Because I remember the UK being more about FIFA and Call of Duty that are more console-based, and maybe
UK love their consoles. That's all I'm gonna say. They love. I mean, the fact that Fortnite came out, or not came out, but when it did come out, everyone was like really hyped about that, and I was really surprised at the amount of people that were like, "Oh, have you heard of Fortnite?" Compared to like League of Legends. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows what Fortnite is for sure, but League of Legends, like
so much,
not many people know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, but well, let's hope that it improves. And coming back to Spain, of course, Movistar Riders has had its best year overall in League of Legends after many attempts of making it with a Game 5 finals in spring and actually winning the title in summer. So obviously expectations are quite high with the organization nowadays. So do you feel any pressure, or to keep this momentum going, or you're just coming fresh as a new player and just want to focus on your own goals and objectives?
I mean, my goal is is not really winning the title in Spain, but rather EU Masters. That's my bigger picture. I feel like I will try my absolute best to try and make this roster work, as well as, you know, myself, you know, play to the best level that I can in order to make EU Masters and actually do well in EU Masters, because I've always made it to like top 5 to 8, you know, or quarterfinals basically. And I think this is just, I don't know, for me personally, I feel like it hurts me every time I lose at this point, because I feel like I can always win this. Or I felt like I should make it further as a player, as a team. I don't know. A part of me just, I can't take being a number 5 to 8th support in EU Masters anymore. This is really ridiculous. And I don't know if it's just because how I am as a player or how I think about stuff, but I'm very competitive when it comes to like just, you know, having results in a way. And I think I deserve better than 5 to 8. And I think I can do it in Spain, or I can do it with, in Movistar Riders with my team. But yeah, I mean, that's my goal. Of course, a lot of people probably think this guy is absolutely delusional. But, you know, that's my bigger picture. That's what I'm aiming for, and that's why I'm in Spain.
I think it's totally fine to have those goals, and we are running a bit out of time. So just to finish, is there any, because I could ask you many more things, but we are running out of time. Is there any extra message that you would like to send to the people maybe watching this interview, or maybe your old fans of the past that have lost a bit of track of you this last year?
I mean, first of all, I'd like to say, you know, I've been playing League of Legends for a long time, and I know a lot of people will probably think, you know, it's not about how long I will play for, but rather like when am I gonna end my career or anything like this, you know. But I personally, I'm the type of guy that like the moment I start thinking of considering retirement and blah blah blah, I think that's when I stop becoming a player. But for me, it's right now, it's not even right. Like I just don't see myself retiring anytime soon. I feel like it's just something that I want to keep doing no matter what. I feel like playing League of Legends is like a really, how do I say it? It's like a dream job, right? It's something I've always wanted to do. It's like I would take this over doing anything else any day, just because I know that it's something that how do I say it? I kind of committed to League of Legends and all in on it before, right? Like I kind of just not gave up on college, but I kind of sacked my college A levels and stuff just to be where I am today. So I feel like retiring is only there once you start feeling like you can't either compete at the highest level, or you feel like there are other commitments in your life that you have to take. Then sure, you know, then that's how it is sometimes. But yeah, for me, I will still try my hardest, and hopefully I can produce the results that, you know, that you guys are used to seeing in the past. But yeah, I'd like to also say, wait, I don't know how to say it in Spanish. Somos Movistar.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm just butchering it.
No,
I think it's Somos Movistar Riders.
I'm butchering your language, and you did just fine with Somos Movistar Riders. Yeah, I actually encourage you to learn a bit of Spanish, because it worked really well for Deadly. He was really beloved by the community, even though he wasn't the one actually tweeting in Spanish. So a bit of Spanish memory will actually boost your Twitter a lot. So definitely something to. Yeah.
I will learn some Spanish, don't you worry. Throughout this next year, man, I got some I will learn Spanish, don't you worry.
I trust you. So, well, Rayito, it's been an absolute pleasure, as always, and I think we don't have any chicken nandos around here in Madrid, but as long as you don't hang too much with Jarge, because his tasting food is absolute garbage. We hate him in Spanish because of a tweet he made saying that the English cuisine was actually better than his.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to compensate you with the local cuisine of Spain. So, yeah, thank you very much for the interview, man, and best of luck with Riders.
Thank you, man. Much appreciated.
De estar escuchando este mensaje significa que te has visto todo el vídeo, así que te lo agradezco una barbaridad por apoyar el contenido, y si quieres seguir apoyándolo puedes hacerlo suscribiéndote, que te va a salir por aquí un iconito para que lo hagas, y si quieres ver más vídeos de este tipo porque te han gustado, más allá de dejar el like, la campanita además que siempre ayuda, tienes aquí un par más para que puedas seguir viéndolo. Nada más, espero te haya gustado y nos vemos en otra ocasión.